Good afternoon and happy 2020. Glad to be here again. This is my third annual address at the Chamber. And first off, I just wanted to say I saw a couple of other public servants in the room that I wanted to recognize. I believe, Ron, you've brought Elle from the school district. Elle, thank you. And our East Side Fire and Rescue Fire Chief, Jeff Clark, is also here today. Thank you. Thank you for your service. I plan to keep my remarks today relatively brief. I will be introducing our new city administrator, Wally, at the end of my talk so that he can have a chance to say a quick hello to you all. And following that, I'll be handing it microphone over and the floor over to Issaquah School Superintendent Ron Thiele. We would love to take your questions. We're hoping we have a lot of time because we know you guys have a lot of questions. So this is a very exciting time for our community. After more than a year-long process that included broad engagement and countless hours of work by our local leaders, the City Council adopted our Issaquah, our first strategic plan. We are internally aligning our staffing resources to be able to deliver on the community priorities and move the needle in the areas that the community has told us are most important to them. And as a quick reminder, the goal areas included mobility, growth and development, environmental stewardship, social and economic vitality, city leadership and services, and infrastructure. The goals and objectives outlined in our 5-year strategic plan paint a picture of the path we need to be on in order to build the community that meets our shared expectations. I'd like to touch on a couple of those goal areas now. Economic development. 2 success measures listed for social and economic vitality are job growth and business growth. For 2020, our economic development team is focused on helping current businesses grow and recruiting new businesses by supporting small and medium business growth through workshops and via the Chamber and Startup 425. Also facilitating Costco's headquarters growth, which will add thousands of jobs here in Issaquah. We also plan to work with our partners to ensure an economically vibrant community. Some of those examples include a new regular roundtable with our partners to ensure coordination and fast action to respond to business trends and needs, cultivating connections with property owners and real estate brokers to keep informed of trends and vacancies, and to assist them by providing information about the city and business community to help their recruitment efforts. Looking ahead, we're also going to conduct a citywide business survey in 2020, which is typically conducted every 4 years. This allows us to hear directly from you, the businesses of all sizes, and monitor trends in our business community. For example, in 2016, results showed that 84% of businesses said Issaquah was an excellent or good place to do business. That was compared with 73% in 2012. Not surprising at all, traffic, transportation, and hiring are major challenges, as they are today. And the number one issue was in recruiting and retaining employees was housing affordability. While there's much to be done, Issaquah has made some strides since 2016 by adopting some new affordable housing requirements. Moving forward, I want to emphasize to you all of our key partners in this economic development effort. If you know an Issaquah business outgrowing their space or a business that would be a great addition to the Issaquah business community, please contact our ED team. And some of them are, there we go. Jen's got her hand up in the air. You want to get more involved? The city's Economic Vitality Commission is now recruiting new members. Applications are online through February, and new members will start in May. Has your business been recognized in your industry, or have you recently celebrated a significant anniversary? Do you have other updates to share? Please share it with us so that we can help spread your news about our amazing business community. I also want to take a moment and celebrate some of the positive trends we are seeing. We have a robust and growing local economy here in Issaquah. For example, our business license data for the past several years shows a steady increase. Business and occupation tax receipts also continue to grow each year. According to the Puget Sound Regional Council, Issaquah also continues to grow jobs. In 2018, which is the latest year for information, Issaquah has 26,864 jobs, which is up 5.5% from the previous year. As a testament to our strong local economy, we also have new business activity underway, including Formula Brewing, which is opening soon, the 2005 Poplar Way office building, which Raleigh Properties talked about earlier today, and the new Gilman work lofts. The other area I want to talk about today from our strategic plan is our work around the area of transportation. This is essential for our Issaquah business community to thrive. Our City Council recently met with our state representatives for a legislative breakfast where we shared Issaquah's top priorities. As the legislature continues a future transportation package, Issaquah has requested that 2 specific projects be included. The first is the completion of the state's project to widen State Route 18. Many communities in southeast King County rely on State Route 18 to connect to Interstate 90. Because of the capacity issues on this stretch of road, portions of the traffic that could be traveling on State Route 18 instead flow through Issaquah and contribute to the city's congestion in both morning and evening peak hours. We're also seeking funding to start planning work for a new under or overcrossing of Interstate 90 in Issaquah. It was really fun to come to the chamber last year and say that we were just about to open one of our existing undercrossings that was temporarily closed for 18 months, but we actually need another one. We need another over or under crossing in order to really have the kind of mobility that we need in town. I-90 divides our community and directly impacts traffic on our local roads. By starting the planning work now, we can better be positioned for future improvements, including Sand Transit's future light rail station and the reconstruction of Gilman Boulevard to meet the needs of our urban growth center. Meanwhile, to ensure our community's values and visions are reflected in future decision-making around transportation, the city is also creating its first ever mobility master plan. And I think I saw a few folks in the room who are on our Transportation Advisory Board. Thank you, Nina, for raising your hand and for your work on that. We're going to be asking the community for feedback on our draft plan soon before it's reviewed by our City Council. Please stay engaged and join us in that important process. And with that, I'd like to ask our relatively new city administrator to come up and say hi and a few words about Wally's background and why he's excited about his move to Issaquah. Let's all welcome Wally.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to be here. I imagine all of you are here for a reason, except perhaps for the rallies. All of us came to Issaquah to live, to work, to raise a family. And my job as city administrator really is that simple, is what can I do to make this the place you all want to be, make it the place that individuals want to keep coming to, want to do business with, want to recreate, play, go to school. And that's really the simple goal that we have. As Mayor Pauly said, we have a new strategic plan. That strategic plan really lays out a lot of the component parts that will keep us prosperous going forward. We need to be able to move people around. We need there to be economic activity. We need there to be all sorts of types of housing here in Issaquah. So I'm really excited to be part of that. As Mayor Pauly had mentioned, I was city manager in Evanston, Illinois for 10 years. While just before I went to Evanston, I got married to a girl from West Seattle. And so for the last 10 years, I've been visiting my in-laws in Kent, Washington, and we had a son who'll be 4 next week. And shortly after that, my dear wife said, "Gosh, wouldn't it be great if we were back up in the Seattle area?" So while many of you come here for many different reasons, one of the reasons I came here was so that my wife and I can raise our son in a very similar environment that my own wife was raised when she grew up in West Seattle and in Kent. So I'm very excited to be here. There's great bones in Issaquah. Really, the opportunities are limitless. Thank you for your participation in this community. Thank you for doing business here in this community. And you have my commitment that the city staff will be behind you as much as we can to make you successful in the future. Thank you. Oh, no. And it's now my pleasure to introduce, this man was on the interview panel, by the way, for city administrator.
Did a nice job.
Yeah. And fellow Rotarians. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Superintendent of Schools, Ron Thiele.
Thank you, Wally. It's been really nice getting to know Wally, and as he said, we're fellow Rotarians, and just really, truly appreciate the collaboration with the city partners that we have here in the Issaquah School District. So the state of the ISD 2020, as we move into this new year, that's the midpoint of our school year. But I wanted to begin with a thank you to the Issaquah Chamber for giving me this opportunity to talk about the organization that I love and I lead. I also got a pleasant surprise from Kathy this past fall, late summer, when she stopped by the office, our new offices over here on the other side of town, and gave us a plaque for, I believe it's 40 years as a chamber member. So we're really proud about that too. So what I can say in a nutshell is that the state of the Issaquah School District is very good. I'm going to just try to be brief today so that we can take questions, but just kind of at a high level, our enrollment is up. You may recall last year, those of you that were here, we had a flat year of enrollment, which was really unusual for us after pretty much 30 years of consistent growth. Well, that appears to have just been a blip. We were up another 1.36% year over year, or 275 students. And I checked the data before I left the office. We've grown another 40 students since October as well. Our total enrollment now is 20,847. I look at that number and I always take it back to July 1, 2001, when I joined the district 19 years ago, and we were a district of 13,000 at that time. So give a sense of our growth. I will tell you, we are in the midst of an educational programs and operation, or EP&O, levy campaign. So I'm about to shamelessly plug our levy a bit here. All informational, though, no advocacy. Got to make sure there's no PDC police in the room here. I do want you to know this is a renewal levy. We ran a 2-year levy 2 years ago. It is expiring, and this would renew that. So it's not a new tax. It is a renewal tax. This 2-year measure that will allow the ISD to continue offering the great programs for our students that voters supported in past levies, such as that 2018 levy. And I want to give you some examples of what we were able to do. Last year, I talked a lot about the McCleary confusion and all of that. That's kind of all behind us now. But here's what we did. I came out and made promises 2 years ago, and I want you to know that we kept every one of those promises. We promised a 7-period day at Issaquah High and Skyline. Our students are enjoying that 7-period day today as we speak. Oh, and by the way, school is in session, and that feels really good to me, because if you notice, there's some snowflakes in your app on your phone. This is the time of the year where I no longer sleep. I just stay awake through the night. So we brought that 7-period day, which has been a goal of this community since the day I arrived. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm proud that we delivered. I was sharing with Skip here one of the biggest impacts of that new day that is really exciting for us was a big increase in career and technical education classes that our students are taking, and they made great choices. And there is some really, really neat things happening in career and technical education these days. So big shout out to them. We also have greatly expanded our mental health supports for students. Sadly, that's something that we have to do. And in a partnership with Swedish Hospital, we now have 13.5 mental health counselors employed, Swedish employees that work in the Issaquah School District. They're out there serving our kids. We increased guidance counseling significantly as well. We almost doubled it across the district. We heard a lot from our community that kids needed more counselor access. We added 2 dual language programs. These are programs where the students are taught both in Spanish and English. We started with kindergarten classrooms this year at Issaquah Valley and Clark Elementary. If you go to our website, we have a little video about it. It is one of the coolest things, and the impact that that's having on the broader schools is really exciting as well. So we're very proud of our new dual language program. We've made a number of safety and security upgrades across the system. We've been able to support a more robust special education program and highly capable program. We continue to have and support great extra and co-curricular activities, clubs, and athletics, and provide really first level professional development for our teachers so that they can be at the top of their game as we go forward. The nice thing about this measure, again, different from last time, it doesn't have a lot of the complications or controversies because the McCleary thing, we all understand it now. We know that it took more money out of everybody's wallets. My goal, as always, I'm funded out of tax dollars. My commitment to you is to make the maximum value out of the money, the precious money that you give us. So this year, as we headed into the development of this, we met with some key local leaders on the front end. We wanted to make sure we were reflecting the desires of the community, and we were able to. We worked with Senator Mullet, who has been a big supporter for us, and this package that our board approved has enjoyed the support of a lot of local elected officials, including the senator. We got the endorsement of the chamber, which that always means a lot to me, so thank you very much for that. Our PTSAs across the district, our amazing Issaquah Schools Foundation. I just love you guys, and I'm so happy to see them here today. And many, many community members, so thank you for that. I will say, of course, this is a tax. It's a bigger EP&O than the one we ran 2 years ago. But because we were able to retire some of our old bond debt, and because we are not running a full authority levy, we're actually able to bring the tax rate down. Not the overall amount. I want to be honest about that because Skip will keep me honest about these things. But we are able to bring your rate, your local school tax rate down as a result of this. And I got to give kudos to my CFO and my business office. They're really strategic in how they plan these. And again, we were able to retire a lot of that debt and move forward. We do have flyers on the tables. So please grab one of those if you're interested and read it over. If there's any questions or anything, you can certainly go to our district website. It's full of great information. Right on the top banner, you'll see it, 2020 levy. We also have an amazing community group, Volunteers for Issaquah Schools, that runs our campaigns for us. They have a website as well with lots of information. Last thing I'll say about that is ballots will start arriving in your homes on January 22nd. Election day is February 11th. Please don't forget to vote. Thank you for that. I wanted to also update you on our bond projects. That's another big thing our school district is doing. We passed our bond in 2016. We've been busy building and remodeling schools ever since that time. Some of the projects that we have already completed or that are almost all complete and students are enjoying and staff are enjoying the new spaces. We added additional classes during the final construction of the new Clark Elementary. We did expansion and remodels on Cougar Ridge Elementary and Sunset Elementary, Endeavor Elementary, and Discovery. We also completed a complete rebuild of Pine Lake Middle School. We purchased and renovated a new central administration building, which I hope we can host one of these events at in the very near future. We converted our old Holly Street building that we had occupied since the late 60s, at least kind of on a temporary basis, and we brought in the first ever ISD fee-based preschools because there is a huge need for childcare in our community. And while I don't ever want to take the private industry out of the business, we work closely with them, and there are certain populations that they just are really struggling to serve, but we're able to step in and help fill some of that void as well. We have a great partnership with our preschools throughout the community as well. Really appreciate that. And we purchased property for 4 new school sites. That's kind of the final phase of the 2016 bond, is building those 4 new schools, and we now have the property for those 4 schools. Some of the ongoing projects, we have a remodel and expansion of Maple Hills that will be starting this spring, slated for a fall of 2020 completion. A remodel and update of Beaver Lake Middle School, and then the construction of those 4 new schools going forward over the next few years. Elementary 16, 17, Middle School 6, which will be at the base of Talus, and construction of that comprehensive high school in Elementary 17. So again, all of this information and much more about that is available on our district website, right up on that banner. Again, Elle does a great job of making the things that we think you are most interested in easy to access. On a little more somber note, one of the things that touched our school system and our community this past fall was the opioid crisis. Kind of came and slapped the school district right up alongside the head, I'll be honest. We had 2 students from Skyline High School who lost their lives to opioids back in the fall. Tragedy. The sad reality, however, did provide the ISD with an opportunity to learn a lot about opioids and their destructive impact on the lives and the communities. And it also gave us an opportunity to help educate the broader community. I've always felt like the school district, our primary mission is to educate your children, but I do believe we play a role in educating the broader community as well. And while we weren't asking for an opportunity to educate people on the destructive nature of opioids, when these tragedies happened, we had to do something. And there was a lot of information that I needed to learn and that I think the community needed to learn as well. So we began to work, and I have to say, great collaborations from so many partners. Our cities of Issaquah and Sammamish particularly, King County Public Health, our local law enforcement, King County Sheriff's Office, Eastside Fire and Rescue, Influence the Choice, I see Jerry back there. These folks all came together with a common purpose of helping people understand and better address this issue so we can keep our children safe. And I so much appreciated having them as collaborators and partners in those efforts. I do believe, always looking for a silver lining because I am an eternal optimist, the good that came from this was we are a better educated community now about these opioids. And I don't just mean the Issaquah School District. I think our broader community. We had over 900 people attend an information night about this. That's the biggest crowd I've ever seen show up for an event in the Issaquah School District like that. So obviously very, very sad and tragic, but it would be even sadder if we didn't take that and turn something positive out of it. And that was the goal there. I don't want to end on a negative note, so finally let me highlight just a few more really positive things about the ISD this past year. You may have heard that the ISD was rated as a top 10 place to work in Washington State by Forbes magazine. That one really blew us away because we had no idea that that even happened. And one day I get this call, and we were the only school district in the top 10, and only 2 school districts, I think, made the top 50, so we're really proud of that. People like to work for us, so that feels good. Thank you. And our students continue to perform at very high levels in almost every aspect of their school experience with high test scores, graduation rates, athletic and club victories and championships, and most importantly, our students and staff continue to demonstrate the power of kindness by being community contributors, volunteers, and just all-around good people. I want to thank you for your support of the ISD, for sending us your amazing children to care for and educate, and again, thank the Chamber for this opportunity and the important work you do to help keep our economy and our community thriving. Thank you.
To some questions. So who wants to go first?
No question.
Oh, no, I know that's not the case. Okay, thank you. I have a whole pocket full, but I knew you're the ones with the questions.
Hi, I'm Terry Phelan with Living Shelter Architects. I'm curious about the affordable housing plans and how those are being fleshed out and when you see them being implemented.
Great question, Terry. Thank you. The city's looking at that from several fronts. So if you remember, I'm guessing now, 18 months ago, we ended a moratorium that was on development on the valley floor, and it covered several items. One of them was affordable housing, and the outcome coming out of the moratorium was that we put in inclusionary, which means all projects had to include some level of affordable housing. Originally in Central Issaquah plan, the very core area of Issaquah had to include 10% of new units. That was increased to, I think, 12%, and in the rest of the valley floor, it was added to 7% was added as inclusionary zoning. So it doesn't sound like a particularly high number, but that was a change that came about just 18 months ago. We're also working on a proposal right now, actually hoping to have final decision that this proposal is going forward in the next week or so, called the Transit-Oriented Development Proposal. The city's been working with CenturyLink, who owns a parcel. They have a working yard next to the State Route 900 Issaquah Transit Center. And we're working with a developer in King County Housing on a 300-plus unit project over there, where 50% or more of the units will be affordable. So that's a one-of-a-kind, one-off, big chunk of new housing that could happen. In the meantime, as the city's done in the past, we've used development agreements. I call it the onesie-twosie, where you try and squeeze a few in there somehow, some way, out of an agreement that we've had with Polygon, signed maybe 2 years ago. There's approximately 40 new units coming up in the Highlands in the next year or so in one of their developments, and there is a smaller development down across from Thiele, a townhouse development where the city's put into the agreement to get a couple of properties there that could be group family home or affordable housing units. So we're working on this problem several different ways. In our older neighborhoods, which is about 75% of town, the city staff worked on changing the rules and regulations around accessory dwelling units, that mother-in-law suite or extra apartment you want to add. And Terry, I know you work in this area, so I'd love to get your feedback on that. We are trying to make it easier for people to add those in, and that, again, it's one here or two there, but this is a significant amount of our neighborhoods are single family, and so this was great that the staff worked on it, the council adopted it. So a bunch of different approaches that we're working on right now.
Okay, get over there. Sorry. Okay, here, and then I'll go back here. All right. Now you guys are warmed up. That's great.
Hi there, I'm Nick with Issaquah Locks, and I had a question for you. Certainly you talked about some of the programs you guys have, and I think certainly substance abuse is a big problem for kids and that sort of thing, and I think that's closely tied in certainly with the mental health resources and like gender and sexual identity resources that you guys have. Can you talk more kind of about those challenges that kids have and what you're doing to try and help them with those very difficult things kind of going forward and new resources that you're developing there?
Great. I have a quick answer for you, but I'm going to hand it over to the big guy, school district superintendent, because that touch point with families and kids really does come in our community at the school level. The city does support several programs through human services grants. That's to the tune of about $400,000 a year, a multitude of social programs. Some of those are about behavioral health and mental health. But we really partner significantly with the school district and King County Health on messaging. So one of the things Ron had said was pulling everybody together. We try and use our message to magnify, our energies together to magnify the message, but we really piggyback off the work of the school district. So I'm going to let Ron take that.
Certainly, it's a problem that we're trying to approach from a very broad, holistic way. I don't think there's any one program or anything, but so a number of things that we've been addressing over the last several years, actually. First of all, our board about 2 years ago adopted a new equity policy, and it is mostly based around issues of race, but the policy also addresses sexual identity issues, and because we have the data that shows that students, transgender students, gay and lesbian students suffer from higher rates of bullying and depression. So first of all, we have to be aware of that. We have to know that. Then we have to educate our staff on those issues, our counseling staff, our teaching staff, so they know what to look for. And then we have to have opportunities for intervention, and that's where we reach out and I mentioned we partner with Swedish Hospital because a lot of these do manifest as mental health issues. And so they've been a great partner there. I mentioned professional development. We've had to do a lot of professional development. I'm 57 years old. I'm over 30-some years in the business, and a lot of this, if I came to these problems with the attitudes that I had in the late 80s when I joined, it wouldn't work today. So I've had to continue to educate myself as well. And so a lot of it is to try to create an environment in which everybody feels accepted and welcome in our schools. And I'll be honest, we haven't always done a great job of that with certain groups of students. I think we're getting better. I think there's a lot of work still to do. And now we're in a phase where we're not just trying to work to educate and create a better understanding with our 3,000 employees, but also with our students as well. And more energy has been spent at the high school and some at the middle school level as well, where the problems are the most acute. But I think the main thing is an awareness and then tackling it. Because the challenge here too is you often are bumping up against individuals' values, and we don't all come to these problems with from the same place, I guess. But at the end of the day, I think everybody can agree, everybody deserves a good public education, and if something we're doing is hindering that, then we need to try to erase those barriers. And that's the work that, it's been a big focus of the district and will continue to be. I tell all of my administrators, equity work and addressing opportunity gaps will be a big part of the rest of your career.
Okay, great. Oh, Mary.
I just wondered how affordable housing is defined. Yeah. Thanks.
Not an expert, but I can generally talk to it. There are multiple levels of affordability. So in King County, we look at the average mean income and assume that those that are below that average mean income likely struggle with the day-to-day costs of rent, utilities, food, and all medical, all the other bills. So affordable housing is usually categorized by a certain percentage point. 30% AMI and below means those that are earning, as a family, very, very little money. Issaquah has specified in different development agreements different levels of affordability. So we ensure we are crossing the entire spectrum that we need. The one that we are, and most communities are, most lacking is that is below 60% AMI. So those really struggling to pay the bills and keep ahead. My goal as mayor is to be as strategic as we can when we're negotiating deals going forward to make sure that we're not missing out on a certain group or underbuilding a certain category. I know in the project I mentioned at the State Route 900 Issaquah Transit Center, I believe the target is 30% AMI for a significant number of the affordable units, and that really is a sector that we need to build out. If you've been following in the Seattle Times the whole discussion about affordable housing, there's also something called workforce housing, which is housing for those that do not qualify under those affordable criteria, but still can't afford to pay a mortgage or pay rent without using 50% of their salary to do it. That is something we haven't quite figured out how to incentivize in this region, but this is something that a lot of the local mayors and even at the state level are trying to figure out how to do. So we have a lot of work to do in this booming economy to make sure that we're when new stuff is coming in, it crosses the spectrum of all needs. So all workers can live here and enjoy the great schools that we have, the wonderful businesses that we have, and the great outdoors.
Okay. All right, we have time for a couple more questions. Okay, Carrie.
No hardball questions, Carrie, just saying.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about transit and Issaquah Transit, because that has been a challenge for us attracting employers here to Issaquah. Is they want to be somewhere where their employees can easily get to by transit. And when the light rail opens up, the link in Bellevue, Sound Transit Phase 2, I believe we lose our direct bus service to Seattle, and our buses will then take us to Bellevue, and we'll have to transfer there and get on the train. So strategically, what are we going to do about our transit situation?
Thank you, Carrie, for that really simple question. So one of the things I tried to do this past year was to try and position our team, both staff and elected, in seats around the region we need to be in. So I've just been awarded a seat on the RTC, the Regional Transportation Committee, and I'm very excited about that because we actually need to have our faces and our voices in the right chairs in order to be heard and to be effective. You're right. That's the plan right now, and it is problematic, and it's something we have to work on. So.
And let me just add, we talk about light rail being a long way away. The city of Issaquah is going to have to make it happen. We are not going to have to sit back and just magically wait for that ribbon cutting notice to come in the mail 20 years or so from now. And I think the city is very committed to being a real active participant in making that happen. And that is figuring out where the station's going to go, making sure that whatever infrastructure is needed prior to the station being constructed is there. Because if we don't do it, no one will. And so that, I think, is one of Mayor Pauly's main priorities moving forward, one of the council's priorities. And if, as these things happen, you saw this year with the Initiative 976 funding issues, it's a very fluid situation. But if Issaquah is ready, that's going to be a lot better than some other communities that aren't. And I think it's our hope that by being ready when these various things happen, we might even see light rail sooner.
All right. That would be great. One more question. Anyway, okay, I know that Brenda. Where'd Brenda go?
Kathy, can I do one more thing?
Oh, absolutely.
So I just want to, I'm super excited that our school district has a Gibson Eck big picture school. Thank you, Superintendent Thiele. Thank you. But what's super exciting is that we have 2 students from Gibson Eck here today. So when you have Thanksgiving, sometimes you get to sit at the kids' table. Today I got to sit at the students' table. So I'd like Beckett and Noreen to stand up. Noreen is with the chamber. And Beckett just has an amazing passion for all things civics. So I'm not surprised that I saw him here today. Thank you guys for coming to the lunch.
Thank you. And since I'm not seeing, Brenda, real quick, one last question. It's yours.
We're excited about the new developments on Front Street, some of our streetscapes, new decor and things. What's the future holding for that? Are we going to see some more things this year?
Investing on Front Street is really important. We've got great partners in the Chamber of Commerce. We have great partners in downtown Issaquah. And so I think we need to make it accessible for people so there'd be interesting places to shop, interesting events to go to. And Jen Davis-Hayes, our new renewed economic development manager, one of her priorities is to get organizations to work more closely together. So things like Front Street, we're making sure there's activities happening there year-round. The storefronts are full. That's the key to success.
Thanks for that question, Brenda. As you know, we have a master plan for Old Town, and I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but we'll email something back so Kathy can share it with the rest of you if there's any intended capital improvements this year. Great question.
Okay. All right. This one just died. So okay. Let's have a big round of applause and thank our panelists for being here today. Thank you, Mayor Pauly. It's been a great update. We're always so excited to be in the know, to be able to have our questions answered. And I know we